in the blessed new year of 2024. We on the Bridge 99 FM extend warm greetings and affection to all Jamaicans, Jamaicans of spirit, Jamaicans of blood, Jamaicans of association, all over the world. We bid you greetings and welcome you to the public eye. The Honorable Colonel Charles and myself are the hosts. We talk about the affairs of this nation as we enter into a new era. And we invite your participation, your attention, whether you join us live on Wednesdays at midday Jamaican time for 2 hours, or whether you link us by virtue of the ubiquitous internet at your convenience, anywhere, anytime in the world. The Bridge 99 FM, the WhatsApp number is 876-551-5782, and the studio line is 876-676-4996. And you can download the mobile app from the Android Play Store and the Apple Store. It's the Bridge 99 FM. I'm apologizing for the allergies which are affecting my voice today. Thank you very much for your understanding. There's tremendous issues that face this nation. Last month we had the sad passing of a policewoman, young policewoman, yes, who needed a liver transplant and couldn't get it. How do we improve our capacity for engaging in the very sensitive science and art of organ transplanting? That's one of our concerns today. And later on, Ambassador Baron Blake, formerly our representative in CARICOM matters and other diplomatic endeavors, joins us because he has been writing, and I want to question him on exactly what's in that COP conference that took place in the Middle East recently. What's in it for Jamaica? And is there a unified Caribbean front on diplomatic matters, on regional and international matters anymore? And are we suffering because there is or there is not many issues to do with foreign issues, with foreign affairs, which of course affect all of you living in the diaspora? So share with us on the public eye the unique Bridge 99 FM, the only radio station in Jamaica which gears itself uniquely and specially to Jamaicans all over the world, the most important constituency that we could have. Mr. Charles, welcome, sir.
Welcome, and do I say Happy New Year to you?
Indeed.
You look a little better this year than you did last year. Except for your little allergy
that would be an achievement. Thank you very much. May I give you the same? We're all advancing in years, but never mind. The minds are sharp. Give thanks.
Yes.
Good. I'm concerned about some of the things that face us in the new year. We are all taken in by this enduring conflict in the Middle East. As we are broadcasting now, the head of Hezbollah, the armed group in Lebanon, is making his speech. There's undoubted going to be an escalation of that war in the Middle East. And what I think many of our listeners may not appreciate is how much it's going to affect the moral conscience first, and also the question of prices of goods that we're accustomed to get from other parts of the world, which now have to have a longer sea voyage. We're a heavily importing nation. Everything is everything, as the saying goes.
Yes, and you must understand that while that's going on down in Israel,
yes,
Hamas,
yes,
Russia has increased her pressure,
yes,
to the highest that they have ever had,
yes,
according to reports we have.
Yes.
Well, the other nation is still there.
Yes.
And
let me ask you, you follow international news closely?
Huh?
Do you follow international news closely?
Every day.
You know, and it's important for me to ask you that, because Jamaicans, by and large, tend to be insular. We believe that this is our little oyster and that Jamaica is the world. When we speak to our people abroad, they cannot continue that conceit. We have to understand that small as we are, we have an influential voice, a moral call, and thirdly, what goes on in the world affects what happens here.
I will go along with you, but I want to give you another point.
Give me.
I think that the electronic and print media in Jamaica
Yeah.
have not been giving to the average Jamaican man in their language anything about what we are talking about.
No. And why? Why do you think?
Well,
I think it goes back to what I said, that being an island,
Yeah.
we think of ourselves in an insular way. That we're no business with them. Them too big for us. So it can't touch me. When in fact it is really touching you. It is affecting.
but
you.
then I touch them.
Yeah.
I said, why?
Uh-huh.
They said, listen, Mr. Shaw, the people we cater to is who we have to cater to.
Yeah.
The people who we cater to not
Yeah.
interested in what's going on
No.
in Black
Ukraine,
Sea
yes.
or in,
Yes.
in
Red Sea.
But that's not true.
No.
If they were educated that much of what happened in the Russian ship in the Black Sea or the other ships coming across with grains and oil, and you see you have to go up.
No, just stop on those two commodities,
Yes.
grain and oil,
Yes.
essential elements of our
Exactly.
well-being
but,
here.
But this is what I'm saying. Our people,
Uh-huh.
our communicators,
Yeah.
our electronic and print
Yeah.
media
Yeah.
should let the people know.
Sure. So let's give them a challenge. Let's give ourselves a challenge for the new year that, in fact, we need to take more of a targeted interest in international affairs. And that's a thing that we need to commend to the media, the formal media as well as the informal media, and to create the sinews, the linkages between what's happening there and how it affects us here.
Yeah, but let's go back to the electronic media.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go first to television.
Mm-hmm.
The most attractive part of television to the grandchildren around was who going to eat more KFC
Yeah.
and who going to eat
No,
more
no,
this
we-
and-
we-
after the news.
Indeed.
The news has been
Yeah.
put in such a
Yeah.
way that they give us the news and give all the children and all of this food business, and they don't create
A consciousness.
even a presentation that the children can understand
Yeah.
that we are living in
So
a,
why do we trivialize our own reality, one, and two, our own connectivity? And it's a serious issue because it goes to the hub of why we're living, who we are, what we expect to be. And I'm sharing with you and agreeing with you that the role of the mass media, particularly those very popular instances, News Time, other instances,
the most attractive thing in the news to anybody below 10 is the nice eating after the news. You know, they're not interested in that.
yeah, Yeah.
Because it is whether which bridge break down,
yeah.
which road is bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
But then let me put another perspective to you, because the headline of the Daily Gleaner, which many of our listeners may not yet have seen, is that Jamaicans are living in fear. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But let me relate it to our earlier thought, because in a sense, those trivial things about the food and the next dance and the next outrage or whatever, is it a way that we anesthetize ourselves, we dumb down ourselves from this climate of fear, which I was surprised still by the opinion poll, Don Anderson's, it affects all Jamaicans. A sizable majority of people feel that they are not as safe as they were 10 years ago. How you react to
well,
that?
let us say they feel. I don't feel, I know.
Oi,
No,
listen to this gentleman.
No, but Rani,
Yeah.
when I tell you the truth, that I would not have been easy, feeling very comfortable to drive out of my house, drive down to the river, the seaside, to watch any thing.
Fireworks.
Because this ear would be listening to the first poi,
Yeah.
and ask who dead.
Yeah.
So therefore, the communication that is given to the people is the 3 or 4 people who die become the whole nation.
Yeah.
The whole nation is
Yeah.
put on that fear spot.
So what are you saying? That the
I'm
the
saying-
fear is exaggerated?
No, I'm saying that I do not believe that they are managing and managing in court, right? The presentation of some of these news clips. Now, TVX will say to the man, rush to Portland. We hear that a bridge breakdown. Rush to St. Elizabeth. We hear that they held up a shop and killed 2 people. That's frontline news. But it is Portland and St. Elizabeth, nearly 100 miles apart. But it is presented in your home. That your children say, wow. You understand? Now, are you saying that, am I saying that we shouldn't be presenting it? No, I am saying, can we manage it in a way how it doesn't become, everybody become fearful?
Who should manage it?
Eh?
Who should manage it?
Well, I'm asking you.
Remember that we had a history in the early 1970s.
Yes.
I remember that there was a strong feeling. I didn't share it, but I certainly knew about it, that indeed the news should be managed in order to present a positive view of certain changes that were taking place there. I was in public media at the time.
Well, I mean, this Trevor said that might have been presented by the PNP, and I disagreed. No, I agree.
No. And
I don't agree because.
And I have to say it. I'm in exactly the opposite position.
No, but
I might have agreed then, but I disagree now.
No, I disagree then because of politics. No, I agree now that we should think of the young generation and even some of our elder people.
Listeners, figure out Charles and Twits, because we're coming from 2 different positions, and we end up in 2 different positions, but upside down.
Yeah, but let us look at it. Miss Bertha.
Yes, sir.
And Master Brown.
Yes.
They are both 80-year-old. Why do we feed them with that?
Because it's the truth. It's what is there.
No.
Now, if you want to say that there's more than that and that there should be a similar, the journalist should be sent out to cover a graduation rather than a shooting, or an opening of something rather than a distress there.
I'm leaving that part to you to read because you're saying it exactly what I should have said.
Yes.
That we can, when it's a balance in the thing, instead of just going to take the bridge that break down.
Yeah.
There must be something somewhere else that is good.
But government, what is the role of government in this? Because government controls large swaths of the news media in this country, you know.
Yes? Like for example.
Heavily influences them.
Like the 2 print medias are not controlled by government.
Oh, but they're heavily influenced.
Well, everything is influenced by government, whether it is plus or minus.
But
somebody's asking what I mean by that.
Explain it to them. What I know is that there's a strong feeling of support for government policies in many of the media houses and among many journalists, and that is I accept that as their choice.
But when you say government, the little man outside just asked me if him don't mean PNP too.
If it can be, certainly.
Well,
certainly.
But we need to say because government means.
But right now, the government is this government is clearly heavily influenced by supporters in the media.
But heavily influenced does not prevent or say that there is not influence.
No.
Lightly influenced and heavily influenced. But there's influence in both situations.
But what I think informs the people who responded to Mr. Anderson's poll is the fact that the news that is presented to us is kill-dead news, by and large. If I count the items in the news that have to do with arrests and damage and accident that kill somebody, or murder, or beat up of a child, all of these things, it is enough to depress anybody.
Well, let me interview you now.
Yes, sir. What you know?
You use a nice word, kill dead.
Yeah.
Because it's everything come back is that somebody has been killed or has died as a result of what they present.
Or disfigured.
Is there something else that could show somebody has lived, and somebody is living, or somebody is getting better, and give a mix?
Yes.
Well, but we don't have that now.
No, and maybe,
All we have is, after the kill dead news, we have a few young children and parents jumping over, eating some pretty sandwich. That is also kill dead for some people who can have it.
well, so what is the role then of the news media? I suggest that it is just to tell the full story, and the full story of Jamaica is one of distress in many respects, but also of heroism and of good purpose in many other aspects. Yes, and I want to see all represented, irrespective of who is influencing who.
Now you use a proper word,
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned.
Balance?
That we need to have all presented,
Yeah.
all respected,
Yeah.
and don't make the elderly and the young are so afraid to go through the gate because of what they saw last night.
Yeah.
But we have to find something else that would make them feel, say, listen, if I go through the gate, I'll be safe.
Yeah.
For example, Ronnie, and I know you're not sharing, let me say, you're not going to share this, but I share it and you oppose it. I want to say congratulations to the police force, because I know that what they are undergoing to be out there, the majority of them is something that, as brave as I think I was or am, I wouldn't be inviting myself to be a part of.
So why is it that your view is a minority view? Because the poll also told us last week that the majority of Jamaicans fear the police. I'm among them.
You know why? Because you helped make a whole heap of them fear the police.
No, I don't accept that.
No, you are a very influential man, and when you talk about the police, you don't give them the credit, the fact that they are out on the road all night while I am with my wife in my bed and my children are safe.
No,
and they are passing my gate to make sure that your gate is safe. And
Not guilty. Not guilty, sir.
You're not guilty.
No, no.
Well,
I take no pleasure in saying that I'm among those who fear the police.
No. Hold on. That's why I oppose to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because listen, there is enough being presented by us of the police to make many of us fearful of the police.
Yeah, and that
I was a boy.
Is that untruth?
Well, let me tell you, when I was a boy, before you ask me a question, the one policeman may have walked 7 miles to come to my school at least once a month.
Marvelous man.
To talk to all
Sure.
of us. And the first thing he said, this uniform identify me as a police, but underneath it, I'm like your father,
Yes.
your brother.
What a marvelous man.
I'm here to protect you.
Sure.
And all of us get to love the police.
Sure.
So we love the police. We love the doctor who, before he tell you, him present you, and although the teeth hurt when the dentist pull it out, him show you why. So things were better. I don't know if technology has moved that out of the line.
No,
so that when you see a police,
technology can't move that out of the line.
when you see a police car come, you hey, thing a black heart. You know what's black heart?
Yes, I do.
Well, you're not a country boy, so you know
no,
about
I'm not a
black
country boy, but I'm amongst people like you enough. No. But listen, no, but it's a serious thing, because we're forming the personality, we're forming the consciousness of a nation. And to me, it is unfortunately true and terribly, terribly unfortunate that so many people are afraid of those who are there to protect them, ought to protect them. I have seen in my 52 years of legal practice and public life just too many abuses, and the uncorrected abuse by members of the constabulary force, that I am constrained because of my own experience, not to condemn the whole force, but to say that there are vast uncorrected elements and murderous elements within that force.
But there has never been a presentation of any audience, whether in church or school, of the police good thing that the police have done.
Oh, well,
That when the police
maybe
break through a gang last week and
I
carrying 18 gangsters who would be killing up people over Christmas.
Yeah.
Anybody say anything about that?
Well, you know why? Certainly one should. Let me say that. But secondly, a lot of what they tell you, I'm sorry to say, isn't true.
Eh?
It's not true. Some of it is not true.
Some of what?
What is reported as being arrests and breaking the gangs, etc. Unfortunately, it's just not. Yeah, it does, and you can prove that when you see who is charged and who is convicted and all of that. But
when it says that, so what you're saying is that if it is examined, those who they carrying on of that. But when you take a QC lawyer like yourself,
I'm not
a top class lawyer like you,
no, the Queen wouldn't have anything to do with me.
And you take a young policeman, write a statement, and when you hold it up before the Chief Justice and say, Chief Justice, listen to this.
No, it has nothing to do with legal hijinks at all.
Statement
you know a good statement that was made overnight by Police Commissioner Anderson, where he said to his subordinates, look here, how you deal with the public, how you relate to communities.
Yes, so they said that.
Yes, gives
so make the community know that
gives the picture of the entire force. Now, I appreciated that statement. I hope that consciousness
and that statement goes back to what used to be our statement
Got you, sir.
when we were young.
Yes,
because
sir.
if anything happened, we were told to find a police.
Yes.
And we were on the road to find a police. And when a police is coming, it means so much to us, whether it's a DC or a police or a penny women police.
Yes, but there are. What we need to do is to reduce the level of fear. We've spoken about two elements of it that have come out in these polls. One is the the distrust of the police. Previous to that, there was the news of the distrust of political operatives. Yeah. You can't build a coherent society. You can't build a productive society if people are looking over their shoulder about important institutions, like the institutions of security, like the institutions of governance.
All right. The man from Reddy's has just asked me to ask you. Tell us a country that what you have just said mirrors, that just get up, you can say, that country. Tell us a country where the police is not shooting down some, is wearing the cameras, it's not.
Which by the way, they will never wear in Jamaica, the cameras.
But you'd wear it?
If I would?
Yeah.
Yes, I would.
Yes. Yeah. As a man see the camera and take your chest.
Why?
Why?
So
Randy,
hold on.
Have you ever sat down to think what the police is fearing, even where you were MP?
Absolutely, sir.
You would be a police?
And the response
I answer you.
Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
Yeah?
Yes.
Office police?
No, not at all. I would want
community police?
Absolutely. Very important.
Not a criminal one?
No, community police have the power of arrest just like anybody and have to exercise it.
Well, let me tell you something.
The role of the police in many of those communities has to be as much of a community builder as they do to an arresting officer. And certainly they have to protect themselves and they have to protect others. But when you see more than 200 people killed by the police every year, you have to question it. And I have the basis for questioning it over many years.
Okay, so the police question 200 people for the year. It's questioning for 1,200 people.
Not all.
How many of those people, how many innocent people have been killed by gangs?
Thousands. Many more, but one doesn't justify the other.
No, it doesn't justify, but it needs examination.
And the examination is very important. We're going into deep waters now because why do we have these numbers of gangs despite all of the measures that the police and the governments take place? The number of gangs in this country are increasing, not decreasing. The number of guns and ammunition. Yesterday's news, Sir Charles, had 3 teenage boys, one as young as 15, being caught with 12 rounds of ammunition. What ammunition do?
Who you blame for that?
I blame a whole construct of
Who is
society.
number one?
Hear me.
You know why you didn't have? Why you were not in that
Because
gang?
why
I was not in that
because
gang?
we had a different family structure with a different
We
set
had-
of values.
We had family.
So
That.
Yes,
So
sir.
It's not such a criminal situation. Family.
we had an ethic. We had religion that made the
Ah.
difference. Okay, sir. But then those
We
are
have school,
the-
we have religion.
Yes, sir.
We have people in the community who are identified as leaders.
Quite so. So
Seniors.
that is what I want us to deal with, because it is when we have that and the responses are more predictable and more humane, as the police commissioner himself said, as the prime minister has said. I haven't heard that from the minister of national security. I'm so sorry about that. But when we have that, then we can reduce the fear of unbridled authority. When we have an attorney general of this country, yes, who speaks about us having to give up our civil rights in order to be safe, yes, we are on the verge of totalitarianism.
But when you put it like that,
But it is the truth,
no, but
unvarnished truth.
when you put it like that, all inclusive, that I have to give up. I mean,
I know me say it.
yeah, but I am sure that she does not mean.
But her prime minister didn't say, no, hold on now, miss, you made a mistake. We don't stand for
How you
that.
know him not say that?
Well, yeah,
Him don't tell you.
Well, I mean, he must tell. Because she frightened me.
So
And she have the power.
He mustn't tell. She must tell you to tell her.
No. I've said publicly, this is what I stand for. And he says it. But he doesn't. What he doesn't do is to discipline those who are the rogues, the proto-totalitarian rogues, like herself, like Mr. Warmington. Yes?
Let me ask you a question. I have been there for many years. I've been selected to the cabinet
Yes, sir.
5 different times.
Proud of you.
And let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
If you know, if you think that the leaders of the cabinet, the prime minister, have an easy time inside the cabinet, you make a sad mistake. Some of these things, like, I don't want to call prime minister.
I'm fascinated to
but
hear
let me
it.
tell you something. They have more pressure in the PNP.
Yeah.
Right?
In the PNP?
That what them up from the Labour. In the Labour Party from PNP.
From the PNP.
In other words, the internal.
That's how it go?
You think easy? Oh, hold on. You
Hello,
weren't there.
listeners.
You weren't there.
I was there.
Oh.
But, what you're saying is revelatory. But that doesn't matter. If you can't take the pressure, you must do something else.
But you see, you guys always have this excuse.
No, that's
If
not
you
an
can't
excuse.
drive on small road, go up on big road. If you can't ride donkey, ride mule.
What are you talking
always,
about?
And none of them can satisfy the truth.
Yes. But I don't understand, because I'm telling you about the reality of people's feelings, which affect their action, which affect their productivity, which affect their sense of liberty or in Jamaica right now. And these are the things that face us in 2024. And when we come back from the break, Mr. Charles,
let's when you come and give us 2 more minutes,
Yeah.
because I think the commissioner of police is on a good lane,
Yeah.
that if we get on it with him,
Yeah.
we can create a broader environment within his own
Yeah.
group of people.
well,
And
we have to.
It can
We have
be easier.
to. We have to. There's no doubt that we all of us who are loyal have to.
Randy, there are some
support.
good policemen out there.
Oh, there
now.
are.
And they have some real rogue.
Yes, sir. That's
But
it.
they have some, not only, a man just said to me, Mr. Charles, you have that in politics.
So you got your 2 minutes. When we come back, we're looking at saving lives. We're looking at being able to restore the health of people who have defective organs by offering them the gift of life from somebody else. Stay with us on the Public Eye. This is the Bridge 99 FM. There's a good story to tell. There's a story of life being regenerated when you have an organ that has served its time and may take your life. You can be healed, you can be extended if only others would be generous with those organs which they die leaving in good order. It's a question of organ transplant. It's something that we should take the science and make international policy. Dr. Michelle Charles, welcome.
So much for having me. Good afternoon to you and to your audience.
And to my co-host, ma'am.
Yes, and to especially to your co-host.
I think I know you.
We surprise you.
Yes.
Dr.
Good
Michelle
afternoon.
Charles, I was privileged to have a copy of your sectoral address in Parliament, courtesy of your dad. And I noticed, and I saw the Gleaner picked up a suggestion that you made, that we ought to rethink and improve our rules and our practices in respect of organ donation. Explain what led you to put that forward and how you think it might work.
Well, what led me to put it forward was when I first started campaigning in St. Thomas Eastern. I met a gentleman that was madly in love with his wife of several years, and she was on dialysis, and he had to drive her to Kingston twice a week, every week, and it cost him $12,000 every day. She was in need of an organ transplant. She needed a new kidney.
Yeah.
And she passed away without getting that kidney.
Oh, Lord.
And so before my maiden presentation in Parliament, I called on the private sector and anyone else that would find it important to consider bringing a dialysis center to the east side, and to also consider organ donation and bringing that back to the forefront in our country.
Mm-hmm. And we had that sad case of the policewoman, which I'm sure you would have
Ms.
noticed
Dominic Anderson.
Last week, who needed a replaced liver. And I want to commend, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me, the Police Federation, who funded her trip to the United States. Apparently, there were administrative difficulties, and in any event, you end up in a long line, and you may not be able to survive the wait. Now, look at that. Is it? Well, let's think. Let's use this occasion, this New Year broadcast, Dr. Michelle, to think how we could do it better, because we have the science. I'm sure you're be able to tell me that we have the personnel who could probably carry out these very sensitive operations, but we need to have a spirit and a mechanism to make it possible.
Indeed, indeed. Mr. Twaits, our first kidney transplant was done in Jamaica over 50 years ago.
Really? Remember that?
And, it's needed. It's the best gift that one can give another.
Sure.
It's something that I have asked the Ministry of Health to consider a campaign, information campaign to sensitize our community so that we can, explain that some of these myths, when people say, I'm too young and I'm too this, I'm too old. No one is too old to donate their organs.
Yes.
No one is too young. And in the U.S., when my daughter became licensed, she had the opportunity to choose if she would like to be an organ donor.
Really?
And so on her license, it states that she is an organ donor.
This is her driver's license.
Her driver's license. So that is why I considered in my State of the Union to ask the government to consider adding that to our NIDS.
Well, I would like to be an organ donor.
But Dr. Charles, can I just ask you a question? If I want to be an organ donor, that organ has to be done before I die.
No, not necessarily. It can. You
hold on.
Can offer.
If there's an accident, people who are organ donors have said if there's an accident with the doctor, say you're not going to live, they can take the organs out before the organ die.
Yeah, and there's
now, if I'm an organ donor and I only have one liver, right, and I'm alive, how do I get a liver to somebody who wants a liver? Except, and I don't think there's any animal that have the liver that can go to man.
But is it not so, Dr. Michelle, that if the proper arrangements are in place, shortly after death, before the organs start to deteriorate, they can be taken out from the deceased person and still be viable?
That is how it's done. Yes, sir.
Ooh.
And that is how it's done. And, these are the details that we need to work out, because the amount of accidents that we have on our roads every day, we can be helping someone else.
Okay. And we're not only talking about, in the case of the liver, Pernell, you only have one liver, but in the case of the kidneys, I remember Dr. Lawson Douglas, the very renowned urologist, he suggested to me years ago on an early edition of the Public Eye that persons who are in prison, persons who were in those days condemned to death, that if they might well merit reconsideration of some of their sentence.
But that was when you used to kill prisoners.
Oh no!
Indeed.
No, I'm
objected
against
to
that.
yes.
But even so, that it was then. But if a prisoner is on has a life sentence, for example, you may well wish to give them some kind of discount,
like one kidney,
if they
where
were,
you can
if they're
still
prepared.
survive.
Indeed. No, but and that's a very important consideration, eh?
That makes sense.
Yes, okay, and it's let's go through it. It's none of us are pathologists, but your cornea in your eyes can be transplanted. People's heart.
There was just a massive a facial transplant just the other day.
Really? Whoa.
It's the first one of its kind.
Indeed, I heard that. And then there is a possibility of a liver or a part of your liver. There's there's certainly kidneys that perhaps most popular. So there are all kinds.
And you know, Ronnie, even oral medicine is now looking at considering transplanting teeth.
Listen to the
it
dentist.
is broad now, and we really just need to organize this. I said in my presentation.
Yeah.
Because I always promote St. Thomas Eastern,
sure,
that Princess Margaret Hospital it's just about an hour away from Northern Manning International.
Yeah.
And we have 28 acres where our hospital only holds 5. We can have a cutting-edge
center
facility out there.
Yeah.
So, there's space, and we have the best doctors in the world.
I think so, and they would imagine the gift to so many people. First and foremost, consider the economy, and more than anything else, consider the generosity that you're eliciting from people, that they are prepared to share a part of their body in life or when they die, rather than just consigning it to the fire or to the earth. They can give life in a way that you can't. That at the end of their lives. To me, this is deeply spiritual, you know.
There's something that you said. There's something.
And I want people to know that it is a myth when people think that, because of your religion, you can't donate. You can be a living donor and donate a kidney.
Yes.
I mean, Catholicism, Buddhism, all of those other religions have no problem with. They believe in organ donation.
Indeed, and
Dr. Charles, you made a point there. The amount of accidents that they're having.
Yes.
In other words, you would have a doctor on site which say, there's no way John can live. The head has damage. Right? How would you, because if you're going, if I'm a donor, then it will be already recorded, I wish to give. But if you're going to take out some other people, then I say, boy, how you know the most might live?
No, you can. You'd
have to have an agreement.
Sure. I know of a situation. I won't call the name. This is a Jamaican lawyer who unfortunately died in a traffic accident in Florida, and she was on life support after the accident. And what her wish was, and her family agreed, was for all her organs that could possibly help anybody else or could contribute to medical research were taken from her before she was declared dead. Now,
because they were still able to be transplanted.
Indeed. And or contribute to research and to me that is the ultimate gift that a person can give. Yes?
Yes, if you can help someone as you pass along.
Oh Lord.
Your living shall not be in vain.
Say it for me. That's it. So what we're going to do, Dr. Michelle, Mr. Purnell, we have to can we bond together to just continue to encourage people not to be afraid of this, not to think that this is some kind of minor murder. In fact, it is resurrection. It is giving purpose, to ultimate purpose at a time of despair to life. And indeed, whether I'm fully supportive of St. Thomas. Let's make this normative rather than exceptional.
And Mr. Tweed, I must tell you that on several occasions I'll be going through my phone and I'll see where sometimes a mother would be surprised by another person walking in and taking her hand and saying, "Feel my heartbeat. That's your son's heart."
Yeah.
And it's a part of that person living on.
I don't think he would mind me saying it. Of former Senator, retired Senator Hamity
Yes.
from Westmoreland, known to both of us. His brother had a heart transplant. There was a person in America who was involved in a traffic accident. His heart was preserved and gave new life to
Wow.
Captain Hamity for many, many years. What a
Yeah.
gift that is.
What
That
a gift.
That is priceless.
The ultimate gift of charity.
And that is
I think that's-
humanity at its highest, Purnell.
Was it Mr. Matalan who went to South Africa someplace and got a heart?
I don't remember
Well,
that.
I think that
may
Matalan
well have
was
been.
one of
Yes,
the first
yes.
ones.
But okay now. So let's encourage people to think more about this.
Yeah.
How do people do it in Jamaica? Do you apply to the university hospital or something if you want?
These are the details that we need to work out. That's
right.
why I'm asking our ministry to really consider
Sure.
opening up and doing the campaign of increasing our knowledge about it, and also preparing the university hospital to re-implement this transplant clinic that we had here in Jamaica.
Sure. And from a legal standpoint, many people make a living will to provide for their last days. And
Yes.
if they include in that they wish to make sure that before they are allowed to expire, whatever organs can be useful to another person or to medical research be made available. That's entirely lawful.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I think in some places in the world it's lawful if you verbally say it in front of a witness.
Yes, indeed. That would be even more informal but useful. But listen now, I'm hoping that we can use this interview, and you're certainly spurred on by your original initiative to develop a consciousness where people reduce their fears, and that in fact the Ministry of Health will take up the initiative over a period of time and really set us. What an example Jamaica would be to our own people, or people abroad, and
Yes.
to the world, eh?
And we can use this tragic case of Miss Anderson,
Yes.
and just bounce off of it and say we're going to move into preparing so that we don't lose another young, fresh person. That we can try to save their life.
Yes, snatch victory from the jaws of that tragedy. Eh?
Yes.
Dr. Michelle Charles, thanks so much for raising the point. Let's keep it going. You have plenty of
Thank you for
support
having
on
me.
this end. Thank you too. Dr. Michelle Charles is a member of Parliament for Eastern St. Thomas. She's the daughter of our co-host, the Honourable Pernell Charles, and she's a dental practitioner.
And Gloria Charles.
And of course, this is Gloria Charles.
Cannot leave her out.
If I don't say that, Patrice is going to take me over and say, Daddy, you didn't say who the real parent is.
Michelle, we're in deep waters. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day, everyone.
Okay,
This is the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. This is a great idea, man. We can do great things for ourselves, You're still on, we can do great things for ourselves. We can do small things that mean whole heaps, that emphasize our humanity, that take away our sense of animosity, of division, of murderousness. Yes?
I wonder if the influence that has just come on me has gone out to anybody else. Because when you mentioned the amount of accidents that we're having, if you had a doctor arrive and said, this leg is gone, that hand is gone, that head is smashed up, but the heart is good, and the leg is good, and they had a thing, rush it to we could have a good little bank.
But of course we could. Look at the billions, I'm sure it's billions by now, that we spend on dialysis for kidney patients, renal patients. Because of our lifestyle diseases, the Ministry of Health has told us that we have a susceptibility to renal failure. All right? Now look, suppose not every case is suitable for a transplant, but many are, and many people die prematurely because they can't pay for the dialysis or they can't gain access through the public system, as much as we have invested in dialysis machines. Now, suppose we really said that we're going to try and accommodate everyone for whom a kidney transplant would help and give a renewed life. Yes? Cut the cost of dialysis by setting up the sickle bank, as you put it. Yes? Suppose you extended it where I want to go, that we could say to our prisoners, look here, you've done something wrong, but you can make partial amends if you are a healthy person and if you have a kidney or another organ that somebody else can use. Yes?
Because when you are, you really don't need two.
Well,
if you have a life sentence.
there you are.
Yeah,
Let us, and many people exist with one kidney and have a fruitful life. So you're not imposing a death sentence on yourself. What you're doing is giving back life to someone, to another human person, you having taken somebody else's life. Yes, and paying for it now. But these are the things that would lift the spirits, as you put it, make the feeling come over you in the way that you.
Well, I tell you, she's going to charge me because I'm going to congratulate her that she said something to you that she never said to me.
Yeah. No.
No. I didn't even know that you can put on your license that
I didn't know that either. That's very important. It's
before anything
happens, here you are.
Either age or accident.
Yeah,
you can be a live person who is going to give.
Yes,
that is fantastic.
Okay, but what we must do, our pocket is still, for the majority of us, still broke. Okay, our prospects of doing great and epic things lie beyond us because of many reasons. But we can do integral things, we can do vital things which restore life, especially in a society where I'm linking this to what we were talking about earlier, Pernell, that where we fear so much for our lives. You don't fear for your life when you can give somebody else life,
And Ronnie, there's a point that she made there.
Yeah.
If just what she has just said has changed my life towards looking and how I can say to somebody, look here, I think there's no way they can save you.
Yeah. So make a gift of yourself.
Make a gift to somebody who is dying to live a little longer.
I want to extend it just to a very simple thing which we're familiar with, but still not adequate with. This is giving of blood.
Yes.
Yes. No. Every once in a while you hear that the blood bank is in difficulties, or you have some appeal for a patient who is in need of this. Jamaicans should, every one of us who is healthy, should be willing to give blood.
You know why we are not willing? We are not educated sufficiently to tell you that if you give a pint of blood, it automatically can come back, depending on what you eat.
Sure.
Now, there's some country where people are selling blood.
Sure. No, I hope we don't come to that, but if it did.
Well, if it's an emergency.
Sure.
It's an emergency.
Yes, but look at the spirituality behind it. Michelle agreed with me that it's a deeply spiritual thing. Instead of living in a society where we constantly fear the loss of life, why don't we betake ourselves to giving and enhancing life rather than taking it away?
I don't want her I don't want her to know this, but I hope she's not listening to me, because I would not normally go and encourage somebody to say, look here, be a donor. And because I'm going to say, make the man live as long as he can. But the point is this now. There's a doctor who is going to say, look here, here's a cutoff point. There's no way they can jump this hurdle. And they have decided to give. It's a fantastic thing.
Yeah. There are people, there's situations like that every day. And medical science is able to prolong life sufficiently so that these procedures can take place. And secondly, they're sensitive enough that nobody is taking away a life that is viable. But what you're doing is giving. Hey, isn't that what Jesus did? Jesus gave his life so others might have life. Now, if we, in our little way, can give some part of this precious body, which we no longer need, in order to be able to
create another life that is going
and flourish another
so
life.
you'd have a life living.
Hello.
But Ronnie, so all of these motorbike men
yes, sir.
that drop off,
yes, sir.
and there's no way, the head gone,
Head gone.
but him heart and kidney young
Can
and
you imagine
solid.
that?
He could do something for his family.
Absolutely.
If he give a heart and 2 kidney, and the government say, listen, we give something for your old man, your children, and
look at you now. Well, look at what you are doing. You are taking this thing and you're amplifying it and showing the mechanisms that could work. But this is what we must do. We have the capacity in this country to be really, really tremendous people, you know. But rather than crab it, murder us, kill dead people.
But hold on now. When several people are killed, they die, they're shot somewhere, you know they're not going to live. The family could also call the Ministry of Health for the doctor to come.
Normative. They're taken to a hospital right away.
Exactly.
Yes. And if it is possible, medically possible, doctors should be trained towards the harvesting of organs so that
good word.
Others
harvesting of organs so that others can enjoy a little more life.
Yes, sir. That is it. And it is more than just even giving the one life. It will lift the spirit of a people, because when you are engaged either as the giver, yes, or your family member, or you are the donee, the person who benefits, yes, it changes your whole approach to life.
Well, let me say this before you close off this. 2 things that has happened to me today that make me feel much better than when I came this morning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to what you said earlier. The Commissioner of Police. Mr. Commissioner, if you talk to your top policemen and say, look here, Pernell Charles tell me that when a policeman come to his school 70 odd years ago, we never run from the police. Because the police was coming with good news that he's a friend. And tell us. Now, some of the commissioner is saying now that you must make a man see you as somebody who will help him, protect him, rather than shoot him, kill him.
One of the saddest things in my political experience was going to one of the little primary schools in the inner city, and I'm not the only one that's been reported, having been said several times, and asked a little boy what he wanted to be when he grew up. He said he wanted to be a police. And you ask him why. He said, so he can shoot people.
Yes.
What a terrible thing.
Yes.
And what a terrible thing.
And that is what he knows then. Now, if it was the opposite that was given to him, that he can save people, he would say save too, you know. But he'd have to be taught that you kill is so you can save.
So what have we done during this first hour of Public Eye for 2024? We're talking about preserving and enhancing life. We're talking about bonding, things that can be very negative, can take away life, but rather can be used. Consciousness, organs.
Listen, I'm excited about
make a difference.
I'm excited about hearing the top policemen saying they are going to go to a school and get the children gather around them and give them a lecture.
You know, one of the biggest...
not only when murder, or arrest, or lock up, but here is a group of people in the society who is going to help you. Like, I'm telling you, we never run from a policeman because the police taught us what was good there. And then Michelle come with this one now.
Yes, which adds another element, another layer to the whole thing. I told a police commissioner years ago that if he wanted to fight gangs in a particular area that I was involved in, that if he formed police youth clubs and really serviced them among the 13-year-olds, it wouldn't happen immediately. But in the medium term, the problem of crime and violence would die down.
Well, you know that I am, as the old one would say, ticker against certain things that you say. But this one, where I believe the commissioner has touched something in my head, and I hope that it is going to spread out with the DCs, DC commissioner
But
that is
if he-
right around the country that he can gather.
But
Started the church and the school.
Sure, commissioner must know must take account of what Don Anderson's poll is saying about people fearing the police and not trusting the police. And I hope that his statements yesterday are a response to that. And
go on to do it.
And he would follow what you have just suggested.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is national security. Can you get into Horace Chang's head that this is so? Can you get into what's her name's head who wants to take away our rights? Yes?
Yeah,
Into
but you're taking one person is a holy power.
No, but then...
Me and you have to agree.
But leadership leads.
Yes.
Leadership leads. Leadership sets the tone. Yes? I expect that coming from some character who has never been exposed, who doesn't have the noble profession of law surrounding their persona. Yes? I don't expect that from people who are in leadership. No, sir. And therefore, we need to put those people need to take with themselves.
Well, could I just say to those who are listening and going to meet me on the road for the rest of this week, tell me whether or not you are ready to say to the people who control license, driver's license, that I want to be a donor.
And
I want to be a donor.
I'm your first convert. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. We're talking positive stuff today. There's more to come. Soon come. Thanks for being with us on the Public Eye. In a few minutes, we join Ambassador Baron Blake, retired diplomat in Jamaica's service. We're going to talk about the environmental movement in the world, how we place, and talk about Caribbean separateness, Caribbean unity as well, getting his views. We relate to the diaspora, all your concerns. You'll tell us when, Jeff. In the meanwhile, one of my concerns is that that's very current in Jamaica now is the argument, Pernell, about the use of the funds contributed by workers and employers to the National Housing Trust. The argument in the press today, coming from Senator Floyd Morris, is that the annual drawdown of in excess of $10 billion, sometimes as high as $14 billion it has been in the past, that it ought to be to the budget, ought to stop. And you have some economists who are saying no, the stability of the macroeconomy still requires that extra money coming from the trust. It began many, many years ago, before I entered Parliament, when $5 billion was taken during the Patterson administration to fund the education transformation effort. And since then, during the IMF asperities, it has become an annual thing. I don't agree with that. I think that money was contributed to build house. Excuse me. And even if the Housing Trust can persuasively say that their house building program they can still be funded even without these funds. I would prefer, we need many more houses. Many of our social ills are aggravated because people do not have proper housing. Yes, I'm familiar with the inner city slums which need relief. And in any event, if I contribute money by way of a tax for house, it not for use for anything else, not even education or health. What do you think?
I was going to agree with you, but I have to disagree on the basis that the park down there was built by Patterson.
Emancipation Park.
Was Patterson.
During his
and that
time.
was used by
Housing Trust.
Housing Trust money?
Yes. That was a great child of Kingsley Thomas when he was the chairman of the trust.
Well, Edward Seager was a man for space, flowers, gardens.
He's right.
Right? And just thinking, if not only building houses, we would build some space, particularly in these inner cities.
Sure.
The children have nowhere to play.
No, humanize the place. I wish I had done that.
The elderly have no chair to sit on. Don't tell me about man going this and that, because we have to get that control.
Sure.
But you know what flowers is? I remember, when I was a councillor in Denham Town, and Edward Siaga had competition for garden in Tivoli.
Really?
And every home had a garden. It was just beautiful. I think he must have got, I don't know where they got the seeds from, but it's a competition. In other words, people can learn the way leaders teach them to do other things. And at the same thing, like Michelle has just
Open your mind.
opened my mind to say, look, I'm going to tell a man, say, listen, man, if you fall down and broke your neck, and you have heart and liver,
Make somebody else live.
give it away or sell it.
Well,
Because,
yes.
no, because the government could say, we give a contribution. Because it would, how much would you pay for a heart?
Oh, Lord.
How much would you pay for a liver?
Millions.
So
Anything I
the
had.
point is, the point is this.
You have to be careful of commercializing.
I am
much.
not sure.
Well,
You
we
have,
can
to be
argue
careful
that
of
one.
you have to be careful of commercializing if it's not exploited.
Yeah.
Because people will kill people for that.
Sure. But
I'm
hear
gonna sell the heart.
Hear me now. Go back to the point about creating spaces, creating
Flowers and
places
space
where
and-
people can have recreation, liberty,
Right.
romance. Just to be. This is why I thought the plan that we had for National Heroes Park
Yeah.
was such a good one. National Heroes Park is that has been put aside now. It is a parking lot and a burial ground. Yes, which is so unfortunate. People play a little dirty football on the dirty over the western side. But we need that. If I have a regret as a member of Parliament, should have really pushed to have more what they call pocket parks
Yes.
in the inner city.
Yes.
And we need, when you see what Emancipation Park has done for Kingston, what George St. William Grant Park, when it's properly cared, can do, what Heroes Park should do, and what the Walter Fletcher Park in Montego Bay, whatever they call it, and in many other places, we can soften the tone of life. We can bring a sense of well-being to people, whatever else is lacking, by just enhancing the environment. Don't you think?
Well, I tell you something that I tell you something that I saw. I saw about 6 buses
Yeah.
park along Emancipation Park.
Yes.
So I said, what is this? I said, oh, look over there. People over there
Yeah.
walking,
Yeah.
enjoying the park.
Yeah.
So, running.
Little music.
See, the point is that you're a town man. You're born a town.
Aye.
I'm a countryman.
Yeah.
So one of my prize,
Uh-huh.
if I do well,
Uh-huh.
is to come to town
Uh-huh.
to go to Hope Hall,
Gardens.
Hope Gardens,
Yeah.
or to say what if train or did have the thing of
Tram car.
tram car.
You're a real old man.
You never know that.
Yes, sir.
You born see. We come at town as a prize.
Yeah.
To stand up at half a tree at crossroad and say there's something that come down, you light a black.
Yeah.
You understand?
Uh-huh.
Or you go to Hope
Oh,
Gardens.
God, it's a big move.
Move.
Like foreign.
And if you behave yourself, study well in school,
Yeah.
and respect your teacher and your parents and others, then you get a trip. You understand? man?
Yes.
So, but to get back to what we are saying, well, I would like to see the Housing Trust carry on the gardening,
Yes.
the parks,
Yeah.
in some of these areas where people don't even have a place to. I told you about 18 fellows kicking the ball in the road.
In the street. Yes, but the argument that the Housing Trust is able to carry out its program and at the same time contribute
To the house.
$14 billion to the budget, in my view, is a non-argument, because we need triple, quadruple the number of houses for people of limited income. A person who is earning $20,000 a week can't buy a house, can't get a benefit. Yes?
But you're gone too far. Can't pay the rent.
Well, this is it.
Cannot rent a house.
Yeah, and probably
I
it's
saw a
gonna-
lady last night who told me she's living in a 1-bedroom
Yeah.
apartment.
Yeah.
Nice looking, fantastic. But says $90,000 a month.
Who can afford that? How many people can afford that? So how can we say that we are able to we're doing adequately with housing? Prime Minister is extolling the building of 160 houses over this project Hope.
Oh, you're saying he need 560?
Well, exactly, sir. And that's it. And therefore, we really need to get our priorities straight. On to international affairs now. Ambassador Blake, welcome, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Ambassador Byron Blake.
Compliments for the New Year to you and to the senior.
The senior Charles.
I didn't want to drop in Prince or King, you see, so I stayed close.
Ambassador, how are you?
Very good.
Well, let me wish that you have a good
2024, man.
24,
You're still in
and beyond, and all your friends and families, have a better time to live with.
Ambassador, thanks for joining us. We both saw your article regarding the environmental council meeting that has just finished at COP, so-called COP, and we are anxious to know from your analysis of what went on there, what is there for Jamaica to benefit. I just want to tell Pernell and yourself of a little story that may may guide your comment. I met a Jamaican friend recently. She's visiting for the season, and she is she teaches in the Marshall Islands, which are in the Pacific, yes? And she says that in that country, they are projecting that the land mass in the Marshall Islands, Carolina and Marshall Islands, will not exist in 80 years' time. Is that inevitable? Is that taken into account in the conclusions of COP, Ambassador Blake?
Yes, what COP had just concluded is to pass that death sentence not only on the Marshall Islands, not only on a lot of the small low-lying islands in the Pacific,
my lord,
but on significant parts of the small islands of the Caribbean, and certainly the low-lying parts of Jamaica.
Oi, fancy that. So, wow.
Well, don't you know, in St. Thomas, the sea has come in pretty near 6 feet.
Well, there you are. Ambassador Blake, tell us then what happened. Because the COP wasn't supposed to do that.
Let me tell you what has happened. It has been clear, very clear since the very early 1990s, that unless the world, and in fact the major industrialized countries, took very drastic action to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions into that unless that happened, we're going to reach a stage where we would see mean average global temperatures getting up to 1.5 degrees Celsius above what it was in the pre-industrial, the first industrial revolution time, right?
Yes.
So at that stage, we were perhaps less than one, but we could see it, and action was projected. And we said you had to take determined action. And you have had several international meetings. The whole COP framework came up, and that has had, as they say now, 28 meetings, each time saying that we are going to act, and the major countries are going to act, but not determining that they must act. In other words, we have left it voluntarily. And where we are at now is that from all the projections, we are going to be passing that 1.5. In fact, we actually had it on 1 or 2 days this year.
Yeah.
Mean temperature.
Yeah.
And that, if you recognize what has been happening to the whole global system, the ecological or the natural system over the last 10 or so years, certainly over the last 7 years. Every year we have been hotter, we have been wetter, We have been colder. We have had more big fires.
More
We
drought.
have had more landslides. We have had more ice cap melting. All of these things, and all of these have been destructive, very destructive, especially the small island and lowland coastal states. But we are now seeing it also in the large states. So the COP28 was the last chance for the global community to have said, yes, we are determined and we are going to set in train action, and we are telling ourselves that we are doing it. We are not promising to do it. We are going to do it. And unfortunately, we came back from COP, over almost 200 countries participating, 154 leaders, and have all gone back home to say that they will still try by the next COP.
Is it the victory of the oil-producing nations, Ambassador Blake?
It is a combination of things. The oil-producing nations and the coal-producing nations and the industrial powers, who the high-income countries who have determined that the extent of their overconsumption, what I said, overconsumption, their wasteful consumption, that cannot be constrained. And when you get the three combination, that threesome, that is what led to the non-decision, as I would call it, at COP.
Ambassador, there are a lot of people listening to you who they're not excited about it because, one, they don't know what we're talking about. They're not getting it in their language. They're not understanding how safe or unsafe they are. I mean, can you say something in a few minutes? Give me something that the average countryman will understand when you say something is coming that probably in 300 years Jamaica won't be bigger than Maypen.
All right. Let's look at this one, Pernell. I am a St. Elizabeth man.
Yes.
St. Elizabeth is an agricultural community.
Yes.
All right. Now, over the last 3 or so years, the type of droughts that we have had in St. Elizabeth, and the type of floods that they have had in St. Elizabeth has made agriculture totally unprofitable for farmers. St. Elizabeth has a nice little place. Well, Manchester will say they have it. Alligator Pond.
Yes.
All right? People used to be able to go and fish and do all kind of things around in that area. Now, they can't, because most of that area has become stones.
But
because the waters have moved in.
sure, look at Helcher.
Look at Hellshire.
Yeah. Tell me about that. Helcher used to be the recreation ground for Kingston and St. Andrew and Portmore. And there's no beach there anymore. And you have the deniers who say that it's God do it or human do it. But it's something bigger than that, isn't it?
Well, let us look at the Palisades Strip, the road to Port, to the Palisades Airport.
Mm-hmm.
Then well, even a 10-year-old or 15-year-old child now will know. When you used to be able to drive out there, you would see the water on the Kingston side, nice and placid, not moving.
Yeah.
And
But
the Pacific side, the other side was
Outside
always
sea.
bumping. But
Yeah.
still, now we have had to go and we have had to put in a major wall
Yeah.
blockage.
McHenry Wall.
The expense of that, right?
Yeah.
To
Burma.
hold it. And we are seeing what is happening.
Yeah. At least we did
So-
that then.
Right. So we are seeing all of this in real times, in our situation.
Ambassador, yes, I hear you, but let me say something to you now. I am putting back myself as a boy out in the country. I hear you say drought and flood cause problem in St. Elizabeth. And I hear you saying men have to do better to prevent that. What is it that we can do that can prevent the flood? That man say a God business that. Prevent the drought and say a God business that. You can. What is it that I can do to prevent the sea from coming in, to prevent the drought from licking away all the pumpkin and the melon? The drought come, then the sea come and rotten it out. What is it that we can do? Is there anything that we can do?
Two things. We say it's God business. Certainly when I was a youngster, we used to say for hurricanes, June too soon. Mm-hmm. And we used to say September, remember, look out. Uh-huh. October all over. Uh-huh. We used to say October all over. Now, that was God's business, and used to perhaps have a serious hurricane about every 15, 20 years. In fact, we had a serious hurricane in Jamaica in 51, and we didn't have another serious one until 88, which got us so comfortable that we had all of that destruction. No, that is what would normally happen in God's time, or God's business. Now, what mankind has done is that we have put so much heat into the atmosphere that now we are having these, if you talk about the hurricanes, now you have to start about it from May. And up to December, it's not yet all over.
No.
Right? So, sorry to disturb you, but tell me, you touched something a while ago, that like a man out in the country, here say, something that we are doing, putting heat, fire, hot, somewhere that all of these things are coming down. What is it? What is it? Come a little closer.
Right. Come a little closer.
Professor.
Come a little closer. Everybody in the country, there was a time when Jamaica used to be called the land of wood and water.
Yes.
Let's stay with the wood part. We used to have trees, and we used to plant trees, and we used to have trees most places, right? Now, those trees serve many purposes, one of which was they held the soil together so that when the rain came, the soil didn't wash away down into the sea or into the river. Right? But those trees also provided they take off the carbon and brought in oxygen and so forth. So those trees were important. Now, when you go across Jamaica now, you have to look hard and strain your eye to see a tree, to see a good set of trees, because we have chopped down all of them. All right? So if we take just that one.
That's a big one, that you know, sir.
The big one, that, and we're going to take a break and come back with Ambassador Blake, because what he needs to tell us is that, or we need to confront, is that the whole heap of people listening to us who are described as climate deniers, they don't accept the science of this at all.
Yes.
And there is such a powerful economy defending the status quo, the belching chimneys and the damage to the ozone layer and the reliance on fossil fuels and coal, that what are the prospects? And even Ambassador Blake, please tell us. I worry when I see, glad to see the expansion of the tourist industry in Jamaica, but we are building so close to the water that what is going to happen when that, when the sea levels rise? And we have all of these rooms that are out in the sea, etc. Are we being prudent? We're talking the climate. We're talking about Jamaica's prospects. We're talking about the Caribbean as an ecological entity. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge with Ambassador Baron Blake. Soon come. Thanks for being with us on the Public Eye. This is a Bridge 99 FM. Ambassador Baron Blake is talking to Pernell and myself. Ambassador Blake, are countries like Jamaica victims, or are we contributing to the erosion of the environment?
We are in the first instance victims, because we are planted where the Creator has planted us in the tropics, and we are not going to be able to move. And we are really not very large
emitters,
users of the oil and these emitters.
Yes.
Not very large.
Yeah.
So we are victims. And this is one of the reasons why we have to combine and argue about those against the predators, so to speak.
Yes.
But at the same time, we are also culprits. We are culprits in the sense of the last question which was raised to me, which was, our hotels and so been built.
Yes.
Right? Now, in the old days, you had few hotels, but they were built well away from the shore.
Yes.
Now, we not only build them against the shores, we cut out the mangroves.
Oi.
We cut out the mangroves to build the hotels.
Yes.
So when we finish cut out the mangroves to build the hotels, we are now expose the shoreline to the full brunt of the stronger currents which are going to be coming in because of the hotter waters. Right? We have moved to strip all our hillsides, and we have gone up into the Blue Mountains and so on. We have taken down, and then Gilbert helped us to take down most of the big trees, the old trees in the Blue Mountains and so forth. Right? So that big watershed which used to be there is no longer a significant watershed, even though it still contributes a third of our water.
So, Ambassador,
we have decided that we want to put economic activities into the cockpit country, which is another third of our water supply.
what a mistake.
And we see it coming.
Yeah.
I say we are victims, but we are really mad victims, because we could see the things happening, and we allow them to happen. Because we say, so the thing set. It's not God set the things so at all.
No, as we do it.
Could I tell you something, though, Mr. Blake? The right professors, the right teachers have not been communicating to the students sufficiently. Because you see what you have said today about planting pumpkin and melon alone in St. Elizabeth. That if sun no kill it, rain go and drown it. Why? Because the sea has come up, or there's a gas. If we were explaining this 10, 15 years ago to the farmers, he wouldn't cut down every pretty tree. Man leave Kingston with trucks, come out and cut down every pretty tree.
You're right.
Come back a town.
You're right.
But
we said some bad example. This notion where we're even going to the hinterland of St. Elizabeth and St. James and mining bauxite there. We must stop to that. It is wrong. The question, the discussion is really about the diplomatic effort, though. Has the world given up on 1.5, Ambassador Blake? Is that the outcome of COP?
The world will tell you that it has not given up on 1.5. And you will tell the world, Mr. World, you lie.
Yeah.
From 2009, after the fourth international assessment, which showed that we were in tremendous difficulty in 2007, and a decision was taken to take 2 years and prepare to really confront the thing with the major industrial countries to take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
For the first year of that, to my certain knowledge, they were supposed to work out among themselves the scheme that they were going to use to reduce it. To my certain knowledge, 4 meetings were held and not one focused on them. They pivoted the thing to talk about China and India and so need to reduce because they are fast growing and so forth. And then in the second year, leading up to the Copenhagen meeting, it seemed that there was a grand conspiracy. And you had France taking on the African countries and saying, no, don't worry to hold to this 1.5. You had Australia taking on the Pacific countries and say, no, don't worry, we'll provide you with aid. And of all the things, you had the British Prime Minister and the French President turning up in Grenada, convinced the Caribbean not to worry to hold to this 1.5. And they all did. And then they went back home and said, no, we didn't do that. So they went up to Copenhagen to say, oh, no, we're still talking about 1.5. The guy said, we have this letter in our pockets that you have all said we could go to 2. So from that time,
ambivalence.
We have put the ropes
Around
firmly around our necks. We took them now and put it around our necks.
Go ahead.
And since that, every time it has continued. So we have not in 1 year, not 1 year since 1992, and certainly since 1999 when the industrialized countries were supposed to have their emissions top out and then start coming down. In every year it has increased. And every time we go to a meeting, they said that they are going to. They are going to. Well, I'm afraid that if we look at what has happened over the last 7 to 5 years, where every year has been the hottest year on record, has been the coldest year on record, because the way nature works, if you have heat, you have to balance it with cold. That's how nature works, to keep itself in balance. So you have had the hottest years and the coldest years every year over the last 7 years.
What you could have had otherwise? What should we be trying to have had other than the hottest and the coldest?
A different way of life that is going to de-emphasize the destruction of the environment by the things that Ambassador is telling us about, and by much more. But the developed world has decided that their standard of living is inviolable. It has to use more and more of the things that are despoiling the environment for us.
Yes, but the man of predators just called me to say, he still don't understand what we in Jamaica should be doing to prevent what happened to France and all of that stuff.
3 things that we in Jamaica should be doing. 3 things. Let's go back. When you're a countryman like me too. Let's go back. In the old days, you would never have a farm that had only sweet potatoes for acres or something for acres. You would have multiple crop because you're trying to keep your soil, you're binding it. If you're from St. Elizabeth, you would cover that with mulch so that the little water moisture don't pull out. We have all gone to these single crops. And even those days when you used to have the sugarcane as large things. But the sugarcane plant is a grass which binds your soil and so forth. But we used to have, even on the hedges, we used to have trees and so forth. So we have to come out of this multiple thing.
Monoculture.
Number 2, and this one is the one that really now goes to my everything. If you take what has happened in St. Andrew in the last 7 years, we have taken out all the trees from all the big lots, and we are putting high concrete jungles, right? So the number of huge trees which we have taken out in the St. Andrew area, for example, over the last 7 years, somebody has to tell me where we have replaced those trees. When you take out a 70, 80, 100-year-old tree, I'll tell me where you place it, and you don't take out one. You might have 20 of those on a lot, and you take out all. All right? And we say that we put up these high rises, and we concrete around the yard, the space around it, right? No, that is something that we have to stop doing because, quite apart from everything else, we just generate greater heat from the concrete.
What that tree was supposed to do, Ambassador, what that tree that sat there, right, dropping leaf in the yard, and man I said, chop down that and hold up him kite. What that tree was doing, other than what we saw it. Based on what you are saying now, what it was contributing.
That tree was by keeping the balance of our carbon and our oxygen in place and the heat that is expanded. 1. 2, that spread was making certain, and its root spread was making certain that the soil was held together. That tree was also providing food. Most of those trees, a lot of those trees were fruit trees, but even where they were not fruit trees, they were doing these other functions and keeping us going. Right now, so
they're creating watershed.
That moisture which went back up from those trees in a managed way, that is part of what used to condense and come back down to us. So they were responsible for part of our transpiration, but in a managed way.
Ambassador Blake, tell me, does the Caribbean have a coherent policy on climate change? Did it have a unified voice at COP?
I didn't see the preparation to go forward to COP. I knew up to 2005 January when we went to Mauritius. The Caribbean had a position. They had a document. The Caribbean went and spoke from that document. Now, looking at what came out of COP, some of the things, you had several agreements which came out of COP. And you have one Caribbean country signing on to this one, another Caribbean country signing on to another one, another Caribbean. Now, and none of those signatures said this country was onto it, but it was on behalf of the Caribbeans. So I don't know that we had a strategy. But
then we are using our separateness. We're using this mantra of nationalism to weaken ourselves and to compromise, to mortgage our future, rather than having the humility and the sense of cooperation to band together in a way that can protect us. And that's how I see it, So tell me if I'm wrong.
You're absolutely correct. What happened in 89?
Well, look on Trump.
In 89, two Caribbean persons.
Yeah.
They happen to have been two Trinidadians. They started a movement which not only spoke of trying to pull the Caribbean together, but to pull the Pacific Islands and to pull the African islands together. So we have what was called the AOCIS. And the AOCIS was the negotiating arrangement for island states.
Yes.
Because we realized that as the Caribbean, we're not going to have any strength, as much strength. And the Pacific realized the same thing. Yeah. And the African islands, the islands off the coast of Africa, recognized that. And we went even further. We said, well, the low-lying coastal states like Guyana, Suriname, and so, they were endangered, the Belize's.
Sure.
So we defined them into the alliance of small island states, so that we got more muscle. So, and that has been the negotiating bloc since I said 89, because between 89 and 92 was when we prepared for the 92 conference in Brazil.
Does that bloc still exist?
It still exists, but it does not exist with the force and the potency that it did. And I'm just not certain how the negotiations and how the discussions took place in the last couple of years. I rather suspect that we did not have an AOC's position in the way that we used to have it, because I rather suspect that we didn't have a Caribbean position in the way we had it.
Broaden your consideration a little bit more for me. With your experience of diplomacy in the Caribbean over your period of engagement, are we
A 50 years engagement.
well, look at that. Are we a stronger regional force or a weaker one than we were before, and that we ought to be?
Much weaker than we were before, and much weaker than we ought to be, because frankly, with the technologies which we have now available to us and the information which we have available to us now, we should be able to develop Caribbean positions much easier.
Sure.
In the early days, we had to literally move people for 1 week, for 2 weeks into meetings, working groups and so forth, to hammer out positions. No, we could sit down, each could sit down at their desk, and we could do that without the movement. So we could be much stronger.
What is lacking? What have we compromised?
What we have compromised is, and I think somebody has used the term earlier, divide and rule, and a lack of sense of the history. So we have allowed persons to get among us and to encourage us to separate on certain things. And once you begin to separate on some things, you're almost doomed. So we have allowed too much interference in our regional business from the outside world.
Oi.
And when I say the outside world, I don't mean only countries, The international institutions have also become part of that problem for weaker states. Whereas those institutions used to be what used to build up and provide the information which used to backstop the position of small and poorer countries. Those institutions quite often now are much more representative of the major countries, because the major country says we carry the bulk of the bill. So we have really allowed ourselves to be united, and we have refused to learn our history. We have refused to draw on what has happened. As I said, I have not seen or heard too many meetings in the Caribbean where they have been preparing the position to go forth. I have not seen the knowledge of people being drawn on to help to guide the positions. I've just not seen it.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Charles, what do you
Mr. Blake,
think?
let me just say this. First, let me congratulate you, because let me say this to you. What you have said has increased my consciousness.
And I've heard you breaking it down, asking him to break it down in a way that.
But I want to say
understand.
to you.
Uh-huh.
I hear teachers
Yeah.
and politicians, our government, saying to the children, go and plant a tree. Nobody has convinced them like what Mr. Blake has just said a while ago. So you hear about climate change. What the hell is this climate change? Nobody has said what Mr. Blake has just said.
No,
the education,
Sure.
the transmission.
But why is that, Pernell? The point is that what Baron Blake, I think, is pointing to is the fact that this is not accidental, that we have decided that we will pitch our tent with those climate deniers or people who looking for themselves, and we don't see, we're not acute enough to see where we've come into it and where we can make a difference.
Yeah, but the truth is that we are on an island and they're on a continent.
Yeah, but
so by the time the water reach them, we gone.
We're gone.
Right? So for example,
I want to take Pernell's point. Pernell, let me take your point, which I think is critical.
Yeah.
We go and we say to school children, plant a tree, plant a tree. We say to the world, we are going to plant 3 million trees.
Yeah.
First thing we don't say to ourselves is, we are not going to cut down. We're not going to cut down one and go and plant one, because it's not a fair exchange. So we are not saying to the people, you have to preserve the trees that you have, and then you have to plant.
Yeah, but you see, we have not.
You know,
That's a big point because when
We didn't have the Blakes.
Uh,
Who is going to say to the
but-
school children,
no, but-
every one of you gonna get a tree to go home and plant
no, but we have
and protect the one that is there.
with respect to the
Right.
government must lead.
and you have cell phone now, so every 3 months you take a picture of your tree, and you send it into us so we see it. And at the end of the year we see how the trees are, and we give those whose trees look most, I think, at some little incentive.
Mr. Blake, could I give myself a little credit? I have one ackee tree,
Uh-huh.
3 mangoes,
Yeah.
1 gooseberry,
Uh-huh.
4 breadfruit, round my house.
Yeah, you're good.
When I open my house, I am the oxygen
Yeah.
that I am getting.
So you're
So-
we want to make you
But hold on.
examples.
I
Set
said to him,
examples.
man, how you don't have no trees in your yard?
Uh-huh. I'm going to have Trivia when he was living on the 7th floor of some concrete.
But I have been to
Jungle.
countries
Uh-huh.
where they have those things,
Yeah.
but they also have trees
We don't
and
have-
garden.
we don't have
they
that
have garden and these
because-
things. There's where you have several rooms,
Uh-huh.
they have gardens.
Yeah, but Capital run the show here and I'm no business with tree and park.
Yeah, but one last thing, Mr. Blake, go back to the thing. You're talking to some man where you come from St. Elizabeth and you come from St. Anne. You're talking to a man who live near where sea come in, pandem, and you need to say, look here. And I said to the minister the other day, Minister, you can't just tell me about climate change because I don't know what that means. Well, like what Blake said a while ago, you are going to have problem because your trees are not going to be there. Your mango going to die.
Well, you're
all of
making
these
the
things
case. But-
because of how we are communicating to them.
Yeah.
What
But some of
they
it, some,
have
it's more
to do
than
and why.
communication, you know. Baron Blake, the love affair that we have with oil in this country, when we don't produce a drop, and where we are price takers, it seems to me that this is one of the areas we are the culprits as well as the victims.
We are the culprits on that, and we are developing another love affair.
But, Mr. Blake, we didn't have oil. We used to cut down the trees and burn. For example, you forget limescale?
No.
Do you know what
No.
limescale?
Yes, I do.
But Pernell,
Yeah.
you remember that when the man cut the trees, made the lime, the men used to be planting back trees.
Planting back trees.
They used to be planting back trees, so you cut trees and you plant trees. I want to make 2 points.
One last before you
One-
quick. One last quick.
One on,
Quick.
now you triggered me on something. You are from St. Anna, Bauxite Parish.
Yes.
I am from St. Elizabeth, a Bauxite Parish. And everybody tell us that bauxite going to make us rich. St. Elizabeth, which was the bread basket, and St. Anne, which was the competing bread basket,
Garden Parish.
and Garden Parish. The land went into the mine out, and we have neither garden now, nor basket.
Huh.
Because the bauxite, and we're still telling ourselves that mining more bauxite is going to make us rich and make us prosperous.
Thank you, sir.
We
Thank you,
have to
sir.
be crazy.
Yes, we have to
Mr.
be
Blake,
crazy.
I thought you were a nice guy. You come here to run it against me, right? Because I am a bauxite man, and I am now
not.
being convinced
You're not.
that you dig out the bauxite,
Yes, and you
you
left
dig
it
out
so.
the trees,
Yes.
so I hear that bauxite
and
planting
the,
hundreds
and
of
the
trees.
governments, successive governments of
Hold
Jamaica
on.
say
The
that is a way for prosperity.
And
Damn
the
mad.
government are planting trees, not a
Where?
fruit tree in it,
No.
not a fruit tree.
And you have some people who tell me now,
Yeah.
okay, we can put a couple of greenhouses
Yes.
and some of the part of dig out,
Yes.
and we have substituted.
Foolishness. Aye, sir.
Rubbish.
But Ambassador Baron Brake, you have you have educated us today. You've shown yourself to be not only a retired diplomat but environmentalist as well. We thank you very much. Sorry, we don't have
but
time
let
for
me make
more.
one more point
Please
and
do.
leave it with
I'd
be
like-
able to
I'd
discuss
like
it.
to go
He
to
wants to make one more
Continental
point.
You spoke about our love affair with oil, and we don't have any.
Yeah.
We are developing a love affair with something else
Tell
that
me.
is even worse.
What's that?
We are developing a love affair with nuclear, so we want to do nuclear energy.
I heard. Yes.
We don't have the research or anything, so I just want to put that back
Yeah,
on the
be careful.
table because
Be careful.
that is even more crazy than oil.
Ooh, that's a big one. A very,
So what's
very
the alternative?
controversial one.
What's the alternative?
Solar and wind. Solar and wind.
We
And
have
not only solar and wind, we have the sea there.
Uh-huh.
We have the
Wave.
energy from the wave energy and so forth. If we were going to put money into research
Uh-huh.
or to back anybody's research, wave energy
Uh-huh.
would be one of those areas.
Yeah. Thank you for the
Of course,
thought.
the solar and the biomass.
Yes. All the
Working the
possibilities.
biomass. These are where we should be putting our things. Because they could serve multiple purposes. We could plant back trees, fast growing, and get some of the biomass off it, and we still have trees.
Interesting thoughts. Thanks so much. We'll do this again. Much obliged to you. Ambassador Byron Blake, our guest today on The Public Eye. This is the Bridge 99 FM. Life Spare, God willing. We'll entertain you. We'll excite you, encourage you next week, Wednesday. Till then, take care.